All right, everybody. Welcome back to Pro Tabletop. We're here with another faction ranking. Today we're going to be doing the one, the only Harlequin elf ears from space that go real fast, zoom, zoom, boom, boom, and brat. They do all these things, right? They make all these funny noises. Joined, like always, by Thomas and Damien. Make sure you guys subscribe, turn on the notification bell. If you don't know what we're doing, watch the Space Marine video beforehand, or just watch this and catch up to it. But definitely let us know what you think as we're ranking this. Yes, in some of these videos we're gonna be super biased. Why not? It's what we do. It's all
What we
opinion
do.
based. It's the internet.
You guys are biased too. Get out of here.
I think everyone's biased towards their army of choice, right?
That's why you argue with what we say.
To be fair, but we love to see the comments, and we miss things all the time, just like anybody else.
You know what?
Let us know.
As biased as I want to be, I talk so much crap about the armies that I play because, like, I don't think they're that good, and then we rank them, and like they're better than what I think they are. And, it's this whole,
You're just not playing them good.
I just like run around circles in my head, and I'm just like, I just don't want to play Eldar anymore. I want to play something else. So Harlequins, they're good.
So they're good, yeah. So we both, I mean, I think Brad's using some of my Harlequins. I have a Harlequin army. You know, Brad's got some Harlequins as well, but he's played predominantly a lot of games with them in ninth. Pure Harlequins versus mixed Harlequins, I don't know that we'll necessarily split the difference on that, but defensively, all have invulnerable saves.
Yep.
They're super fast. You have things to kind of limit your ability to shoot at them, -6 to the range. So, like, even on a smaller board.
Yeah, -1 to wounding.
Yeah, they're pretty tough. Like, surprisingly, you're like, T3 guys, 4-up saves, who cares, right?
And here's something that a lot of people don't know. If you watch the Ultramarine video, they also have the ability to redeploy, right? Not only can they redeploy, so they have two ways of redeploying. You can spend CP to redeploy up to 3 units, and then you can spend another CP to do another unit. So you can get up to 4 units to redeploy, right? So you could redeploy up to 4 units, and when you redeploy the one from the 3 units, it says you can use stratagems to put them in reserves. So you can literally take them off the board and spend another 1 to 3 CP if you want and deep strike them. So, like, if you're in this situation against a super shooty army that is going to blow you off the table and there's no terrain or something, you can be like, I'm just going to pull these off the board now, and they're going to be in deep strike, whatever. In ninth, however, if you put your big units like that in deep strike, I honestly think you're almost automatically losing the game. I tried it, and I've tried it twice. I've tried it with Tau, and I've tried it with Eldar. It has not gone well because if you don't have that mobility and you don't have that firepower on the board, you really start to hurt.
Yeah, they can really, your opponent, if they've built their list for ninth in mind and they have some mobility of their own, they can really get out there and just block the board. The board's smaller. You can pin you in, make you drop in a place you want to, affect units that are not important, spend your resources in the wrong place. I think, and you don't necessarily have a lot of CP to start off with. We'll get into that. But I think defensively, they got to be right up there.
Yeah, I mean, they can swing at you in combat and leave. They can swing at you, consolidate, and go into a transport. So they have two different ways of denying you swinging on them. It's really strong. I mean,
you got minuses to
they're
hit.
All minuses to hit. Yeah, I don't know how they're not a 10. You have the ability of giving them feel no pains as well, right? It's a psychic power. You can make everything have 6-ups.
I think you give them. I think you give them a 10. I don't know how you. I mean, what more do you want out of it? I mean, the only thing you don't have going for you is just like hordes of bodies.
Yeah,
and then toughness. I think you're more than make up for that in the other areas. All involves super fast, ignoring a lot of 9th edition rules. Right? They can fall out combat, shoot, still charge.
Yeah.
They ignore models, so you can't screen them out. Like, it's just good.
Yep. So offense.
Yeah, they're super strong, but it's kind of like the glass cannon,
strong, right? Yeah.
Right. They hit like a truck, but if you can't position the guys right you can't hit me back, or I'm out of range to get shot. Like, once those little guys come out of their transports, it can be rough. Now, if you got a lot of tanks, they can just fly up and stay in their little ride, and then just melt the gun you to death, or use their bikes and haywire you to death. So they've got some good tank options using positioning. Like, they can really just scalpel you, but I think they are a high skill cap army. So, how do you parse that in the offense side? They got the tools to do a lot of work, but you got to be like on point to make it happen.
So I think there's a lot of things that go negative against them in offense, though. So, like for example, the bikes, it's all D6, right? You roll low, okay. Well, now that bike unit that Bird was just talking about that does mortal wounds, yikes! Yeah. They're super sucks.
Again,
they're super swingy. They got no way to get rerolls.
That's
no rerolls. Like instant, I would honestly take off 2 points for no rerolls. No, like there's no rerolls.
It's a big deal. Deal.
They could reroll wounds in combat, but let's be real. Your troop, the way that this army plays and how fast and mobile they are, for you to literally say I'm gonna walk all my stuff up the board with a troop master by it to get rerolls in combat is not happening most of the time. Like it's very rare that it's happening.
And if it does happen, that's almost either one or two things have happened. You either sweep the board because you did really well on your offense, or this is like a last ditch effort. Please, guys, please pick these things up, or else I lose the game. Right? Yeah. Like, so I think their offense is,
and they do have they do have the ability, like for they have characters that can run up and snipe stuff by just getting in combat with them and deleting them with the solitaire and the true master and stuff. So they have these assassin type characters, but then like
they do have pretty strong psychic. Like it's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's just good. Like his weapon's good. He can do all sorts of things to slow your movement or pick off characters. So he's good. You do a lot of mortal wounds potentially. You got double move with Twilight, which already adds to the super fast movement. So that's like seeing some freaking bikes.
So
40 inches Thunderfire cannon in the backfield on turn 1.
I think my other downfall on them in offense is to make them good on offense. It costs a lot of points, which then you're putting less bodies on the table, which they already suffer from. I would honestly almost take a point away for them for that, because it's like, okay, I'm either going to buy a close combat weapon or a gun, and I'm going to spend 5 points, and then on my bikes I'm going to be spending 10 points extra to fuel them with stuff. And I've tried it every way. I've tried it with close combat, without close combat, and you have to change your play style. And then when like nothing is buffed up, it's like you go and you fight something in combat, and it's like, oh cool, I did 1 wound to a scout.
Yeah, you took off those Zephyr Glaze off the bikes, and report out afterwards was like, man, you can't kill a wet noodle.
Yeah, so it's like, in order for them to be good on offense, you have to pay to buff them up, and if you're not doing it, they're not good. And that not only costs points, it costs CP to do that.
Yeah.
So the only other thing there I would change on this so far, by the way, is the defense. I probably wouldn't put it at 10, because
you would, or you wouldn't?
I would not, because I think they lose a bit because it's just straight up 4-up inbones across the board. If there are any type of if you have mass shooting or mortal wounds, those things go away very, very quickly.
Yes, they definitely do.
That's true. Drop it down.
Especially because you're wounding easier too, because they're only T3.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. And in their vehicles are like T5, right?
Their
vehicles are T5. Yeah. So it's
that's the trick. You just can't let them just mass fire you. I mean, that's just the way that army plays, right? So.
And maybe that comes down to what you said, Bert. Maybe it's a tick off because of the high skill cap. If you can't do that, or you're not figuring out how to do that, you're going to keep losing these games.
You're going to keep getting smoked. So maybe we drop them to an 8. Is that too far? Because
no,
they can't die very easy. Like if you put them in a bad position, all those invulnerable saves won't be worth jack squat. If I come in there and turn off your null zone, or I just roll a bunch, make you roll a bunch of saves, and you just fail a bunch of 4-ups, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I could go either way.
I think it does go down to an 8. To be honest, I would say just because that skill cap, that's a big deal. Right, like Brad, you've struggled with them a lot. Like, and you're an avid. You've been avidly playing them. So somebody that just wants to play the game and jump in, and they jump into Harlequins.
You're like, they're the most defensible army in the game. You're gonna be disappointed if that's your thought process.
Right? They're not gonna
never gonna die. Like,
if you don't,
I think no one would agree with that statement, right? Like these clowns are never gonna die.
Like you got to know when to fire and fade. You got to know when to go and take the charge and then bounce out of combat. You got to know when to spend your CP. If you don't spend it correctly to do all of their crazy defensive things, like you're going to be in a bad spot. So sure.
Yeah.
Primary, I think they're really good. Just because they have tons of troops. They have tons of troops that just drop out everywhere. They
got the little pinatas, right? Like they're perfect for just like, I fly this vehicle. You can't just casually pick it up with a couple las cannons. And if you do kill it, like, you just drop some OPSEC clowns right on the ground.
Yep.
It's like have 4 bin saves. And that's not again, you gotta have the right tools for that.
Yeah, they're not good at going and taking objectives from something that is squads of 10 or more, because they can't out OBSEC them, but because of the number of attacks that they have in combat, they can go and they can shoot them and probably kill most things in combat, because they're going to have weapons with, plus their strength, plus their AP. You can make their weapons,
flat damage,
flat 2 damage. So I mean, if you have something coming in with 50 attacks at you that are 2 damage each, you're going to kill whatever's on that objective, if it's an OBSEC body, right? So yeah, I mean, they're definitely really good. I think that they
I'd probably drop them to a 9 though, actually. Just kind of thinking about it a little bit more, because whilst they're close combat, well, and because they're close combat, right? So it's like they get on these primary things, and then they don't do anything. So it's just like they're just sitting there.
And they're a single wound. They're T3, like they could get blown off with 30 bolter shots. Like
the best way I describe clowns, if they're successful, is you're not camping one objective, right? You can't afford for that unit to just be hanging out. It's got to be rotating and moving and picking the weak spot where they can't focus down on you. So like,
and what we have found out is
go.
Clowns don't like fire. If anybody else is out there, clowns don't like fire. So if anybody's playing guns that are fire guns, like flamers and stuff like that, your clowns are dead. Just pull them off the table.
He just won't even make one invulnerable save. He'll make 1,000,000 bolter hits and the last cannon. Put some fire on there. That guy.
They don't like fire. So if you guys have seen and experienced how easily clowns die to fire, let me know, because my clowns just die to fire.
It's uncanny. I'm like, this guy makes crazy saves. If it's fire related, like he can't make one. He can't make 1 3.
So secondaries, honestly, they can pull secondaries. They can pull secondaries out of their freaking wazoo.
Man, they score like it's nothing. It's so casual. Like, I got maxed out my secondary here. I'm just looking at the board like all mine are end game of secondaries. I'm like, I hope I still have units left when this happens. He's already up 50 points on me before we started.
Their flexibility for secondaries, I think, is pretty nuts.
CP, they have great stratagems.
They have great stratagems. They spend a ton,
like crazy.
Like crazy. And they don't really get them back.
If you're not taking a full, like Brad does, he takes a mix. He really starts out with less to start with, and then you're upgrading pivotal roles, upgrading weapons. Like
even if you take a full, you're going to spend 6 CP per game. It doesn't matter. Because what you're doing then is you're going to have a Shadow Seer, and you're going to spend extra for his pivotal role. You're probably going to spend extra for Death Jester. You're probably going to spend extra for a True Master. And then you're going to have an extra Relic. Right,
with that solitaire, like you're gonna spend.
And a lot of times you're spending for 2 extra relics because you're gonna want your Shadow Seer to have a 9-inch bubble instead of a 6-inch bubble. So it's like you're spending. And then yes, they do have a way to get CP back, but honestly,
it's so terrible.
It is the worst way to get. It is so dumb.
Their warlord trait is. The number of CP spent, right? Like, it's not just 5 up.
So you're rolling a 1 or a 2.
CP, you get to roll a 1. Yeah, if you're good at rolling 1s and 2s, like you're going to generate a lot of CP.
Well,
nothing worse than rolling a 6, and you're like, "This is great. I rolled a 6," and you're like, "That's worth nothing."
I don't think it's worth. I don't think it's worth a warlord trade, in my opinion. I will never take it. So yeah, it's like their stratagems are really good, but I think it's completely offset by how costly they are and how much CP you have to spend in the beginning. So like I put them at a 5 because I'm out of CP in 1 turn most of the time.
I would even put them down lower than that. It's terrible though. I mean, just because you're really limited, like some of the strats are really good, and if you don't have CP to power those, like you lose some effectiveness. So you got to make some trade-offs right out of the gate.
Right, you're either buffing stuff up. I mean, the only positive they have is that their stratagems are good. There is no other positive to them in CP. They're expensive. They have to spend pregame in order to make the army good. Like, if you don't, then you're missing out on, like, how hard your characters hit. You're missing out on tons of special rules. You're missing out on any bonuses. Like, you're missing out on so much stuff if you don't do it. So now you're running bare clowns. And it's like, okay.
We all think clowns are good. Like, this is going to lower their score a lot, man. They're going to be dropping down.
Because they don't have list flexibility. They don't have it.
And they don't have list flexibility either.
There's one list that you basically take.
Yeah.
Like there's maybe two.
I mean, like, it's one.
They just don't have
that
many units, right? So you're taking troops, you're taking boats.
You're going to bring bikes.
You're going to bring bikes. No list flexibility.
Oh my gosh.
0.
There's no way.
No, I mean, he's not wrong though. What do you take, Bert? How do you change up the list?
Let me make this counter argument. Instead of talking about list flex of changing your list, can your lists handle a lot of different other armies, right? Do your units inherently have ability to just react to,
Yeah, but there's not. You can't change the list to go with the meta. That doesn't exist. Because the only thing you can change in a Harlequin list is, are you taking characters in 3s or 1s, and then are you taking 3 squads of bikes or not? There's literally nothing else you can do. Right. It's troops and boats. That's all you have. I mean,
but like if it's a really heavy tank meta or it's a really heavy infantry meta, like you can adapt the clown list to excel in one or both of those areas, right? Like,
yeah, but that's the 2 lists. It's a bike list or an all troop list. There's nothing else.
But so, I mean, in my mind, like, list flexibility is not necessarily, do I have a swath of units I could choose and change my list to? It is, can I handle whatever the meta is with my list? Right? Can I adapt my existing list, whether with new units or just the way I play, to take on that all tank list? And now that changes, it's all horde. Can my army still compete against horde? I think clowns have the tools to do that. It's different. Maybe you take 10-man squads for fighting guys, or you equip them with better weapons. Or if it's all tanks, you're like, well, now I'm putting fusion pistols on all these guys.
Can you balance it to deal with both those? Though is my question, because you run into both those in a tournament.
I think you can. I think the core build is there, but however, how we've been rating these is not that. How we've been rating these in every other video is how many choices do they have? Can they adapt to the meta by being able to change their list? How many list options do they have? And are there things that they have no choice but to put in their list? There are 4 units you are putting. Let's be real. There are 6 units out of. I would even go as far as saying there's 7 out of the 8 units that are going to be in every single list build, no matter what, because you're going to put at least 3 2-man units of bikes for the pure speed and momentum and stuff. You're always going to have bikes. You need them.
I think you need to expand that flex. Otherwise, like, it's going to really
but what do you? I'm comparing this to what we've been doing so far.
Like with Space Marines, Bird, when we did less flexibility, our main point is they have a unit for everything. It's a Swiss Army knife, right?
But at the same point, like, you can make that argument that, okay, well, I have to change it because I have lots of units, but I can't handle everything with one unit, whereas this army can handle everything with one unit. It's the same Swiss Army knife, right? It's just now it's inherent in the choices, or the slot choices versus, the 20 different slot choices that I have to take, right? Or maybe weapon options. I think it still fits, and I don't think we invalidate what we've talked about. I just don't think giving them a 1 or a 2 is really inherent in what the power of the clowns are. Because they can handle a lot of different things, and I think the list is flexible because it can handle lots of things, right? We always strive for that take all comers list. I always try to. Can I take one list that handles everything? Yeah, it's not quite optimized to beat the one SKU list or the other side, but if I can kind of have an option for everything, then I think that's kind of the best middle ground you want, right? So without taking too many trade-offs, I think that having that and giving some points for that is still worthwhile, and I think it still fits in what we did previously. Maybe we didn't talk about it or consider it necessarily, but we're not deducting them for that. I don't think just because they only have like 8 things in their book makes their list flex as a category 0. Like it's what we're saying. It is.
That's fine. I disagree. I'm flat out saying I disagree. Based on how we've been rating stuff, I disagree. I personally do not think that they have list flexibility. There are very, very few things you can do to their list to make them better or worse.
I think if you put them as a C, like that's criminal because there's no way clowns are a C. Clowns are super strong, man. Like every time we play against clowns,
I'm not saying they are a C. I'm saying I'm literally having a discussion based on my opinion on list flexibility.
All right, so like, well, so what if we so what are we gonna put them at the list flex?
Whatever their point value is.
What do we have it right now? 4? Is that what we're saying?
I think that there are metas that they are not going to be able to handle that can easily develop. Like even if an all tank meta came out, they can handle it somewhat until the bikes die. But like
it's not you have the melt-a-gun guys.
In a pure Harlequin list, you are probably not going to be taking them as meltas. You're going to be taking them as close combat.
I think you take them as both. Yeah, that's a lot more points. But yeah, I think you're taking them as point. Now they're threatening everywhere. I'm going to run in and punch you. And
but they're melting. Yeah, but the other thing too about melt-a-guns blow, and you know it. Every Harlequin player out there knows it. Every Dark Elder player knows it. You're running out there and you're popping those little stupid pistols.
But there's so many of them. Yeah, yeah. I'm like, yeah, you think they're terrible until they freaking wrecked something with one little 5-man squad.
And then they don't do it for 3 turns after that. So
that goes with anything, right? That goes with anything. They don't have rerolls easily. I mean, this is clown bike syndrome all over again. So I mean, that goes into offense. That's not talking about list flexibility. So if you want to say 4, I'm going to give up fighting about it. But if they come out in a C, I'm going to raise a stink.
All right, here's the thing. If they come out as a Seabird, then you have to take them and prove by playing them in a tournament that they are more than a C. I think that's what we do. That's even better.
But that's not even the thing. Like you can do it. Like I can go and make a full Harlequin list, and I can go do well in a tournament. Like you're not going to not do good. My argument is not that you're going to win or lose games. That's not what I'm saying. Right. My argument is there are metas that you physically do not have an option to adjust to. Like you can't go and take more or less anti-tank that give you different play abilities or play styles, right? Your 2 anti-tank are I'm going to put mortal wounds on you with no rerolls. So on 6 bikes, I'm doing an average of 7 to 9 mortal wounds. That's my output. So you're saying that I'm going to be doing on average 21 to 25 mortal wounds with 18 bikes. Is that enough? And then you've got fusion, and if you're getting in range of most of that stuff, you're overextending. Fusion does not become useful until late game. Like you can't throw the boats at them. The second those boats die, if those boats die in turn 1 or 2, you've lost the game. Because now you're foot slogging, now you're not going to get to their vehicles, yada, yada, yada. So, like, if you go second and they have enough tanks that just blow you off the board, all you have to do is literally kill the boats, and then you kill the bikes the next turn. Even if you kill 1 squad of bikes a turn after that, like, I don't know. I don't think that there's enough punch there to deal with that full stuff. And then the same thing with Horde. Dealing with full Horde, yes, they're blast, but there's no rerolls. So now they're reliant on clowns in combat to go and mow down a bunch of guys. Like, that's your list flexibility. So now you have to combine those most of the time, and you're going to have some bikes and some troops. Well, with Harlequins, there's nothing to pick from, so you're basically building that every time no matter what, right? Like, your max bikes is 990 points fully decked out. So, like, half of your list is your anti-tank, which also can kill your, like, Horde armies. So, like, why are you ever going to not have that in a list, right? You're never going to not have that. Let's be real. And now you have 1,000 points to fill. Your characters are going to fill anywhere from 300 to 400 of those points, depending on what you take. And then that's going to give you anywhere from 5 to 7 squads of 5-man guys if you take no boats. So now you're going to say, okay, I'm going to go down to 2 boats or 3 boats with only 3 5-man squads of troops because you're supplementing for characters. So then you got to go, okay, I got to take out a squad of 6 bikes.
Drop down a squad of 6 bikes.
Exactly.
And then put it
and you're going to take 2 squads of 10 troops. So, like, to me, it's like there's not enough there. You're going to end up max 3 boats with 5 fusion guys in it, 2 to 3 squads of bikes, and with the 2 squads of bikes, you're going to have 2 big squads of Harlequins. I just don't know that it's enough to deal with a lot of stuff. And I'll be perfectly honest. If you play against Harlequins enough because they don't have list flexibility, you are going to figure out how to beat them. Like, how many times have I rammed the exact same list into your face, and then you table me turn 3 because you know how to beat me now?
It took a while, but yes.
Yeah, but that's my point. With a lot of these other armies that have the high list flexibility, it's way harder to do that. You can't go into a tournament and say, I know how to beat Space Marines, because they can change up one unit and that list can play completely different. Like, that's my point of, like, you can just understand, okay, they have bikes, here's their tricks, here's what they do. They have to play this list in this way. All I need to do is counter it.
Right. That's fair. All right. So like, what is the final score tier up to?
Everybody can argue that Harlequins are better. That is fine. I'm not saying they're bad. I want to see
the number.
I don't know.
I mean, because they do play the primary and they play the secondary very well. So, like, that, and that's the most important thing, right? So if you have a high school player that knows how to play the missions, knows how to play the army, and your opponent doesn't know how to play against Harlequins, like Brad is talking about, they're 9 times out of 10 they're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
Where are we at?
You're right on the border.
B.
Right on the border.
40.
They're at 40. Yep.
There you go, Bird. No stink, Bird.
Is Tyranids better than Harlequins? Who's gonna?
I bet every Tyranid player out there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, we discussed the points and everything like that. If people disagree, they'll let us know. It's perfectly fine. It's not like we're writing a book here that is the end all be all. Like, we're literally just rating stuff based on these things and arguing the points.
I gotcha.
If everybody thinks that all the points that I argued why their list flexibility isn't there, let us know in the comments. That's fine. We can discuss it. But I just went on a 15-minute rant on why they don't have list flexibility with very valid points, I think. And I think Damien's agreeing with.
Let him have it. Let him have it.
Yeah. And like I said, this is the army I play. So and I'm in a state of mind where I don't think you're going to see them winning events. They are not going to win events right now. They don't have what it takes to win events. They have what it takes to place top 5. They are not going to win an event.
Ultimately, I end up agreeing with you on that point. I think there's just too many holes and too many places to fill it all. Ultimately, to be fair, I like the clowns. I've been beat the pulp by those clowns.
Yeah, they're very good. If you go to a tournament and you get your perfect 3 matchups that you can beat, you will score 95 to 100 points all times, and you might win the event. All it takes is that one game, though. That one game that you don't know how to play against, or they understand one trick they can do to outplay you, and you're going to end up losing that game.
So
they are very good for a lot of reasons that I think is perfectly fine.
I lost to some clowns yesterday on Tabletop Simulator. Against an AdMech list that I was trying to see if it worked, and this dude just blew me away, man. It was like 95 to 13 or something.
Dang.
Yep, that happened yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a very swingy army. If everything goes right in their favor, they're gonna blow things out of the way. But like, if you are not a high skill gap player, it's not there. Like, it's just not there. So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with them being there, honestly. I think, and I'm going to say this because it's Eldar compared to Craft Worlds, I don't think that they're better than Craft Worlds. I think Craft Worlds has more stuff and are better. The list does not exist yet, but I do think they're better, so I am happy where they fall according to that.
All right, well, that wraps it up for freaking Harlequins.
Thomas is mad.
The clowns have always been difficult to play, so I mean, maybe that's the difference in my brain where I'm just seeing it. I've always seen it played at a very high level, so that makes all the difference in the world. Maybe
he only says that because he plays clowns. That's what he says that.
You've been playing clowns and you've been struggling. You're like, B, that's generous. They should be down in C. So maybe we're missing the boat here. You let us know in the comments. Appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe, do all those fun things. Anything else before we wrap this clown show up?
Nope, I think we're good, man. Everyone go be clowns. We're clowns. Everyone's clowning about. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you, guys. Bye.